that it is extremely salutary to now and again read a book that reminds us that we have a duty to reflect on those things and to make the right choices. Thank you. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. Today, a wonderful novel, a very recent novel, a 2022 novel about Ned Beauman called Venomous, Lumpsucker. Now, Ned Beauman is a kind of a weird one, I guess, in literature right now. He's written 5 novels so far, Boxer Beetle from 2010, Teleportation Accident from 2012, 2014 came out Glow, and 17 Madness is Better Than Defeat. And it reminds me now and again of people like Andrew Crummy, the Scottish writer, who are kind of completely left field and nobody really knows where to put them. So you could say that Glow, for example, is almost a Jeff Noonian thing and could easily be qualified as science fiction, but it really isn't, really. Teleportation Accident is exactly the same, some sort of Paris-based time travel link, but it's not really science fiction. But is it mainstream? Well, you don't expect that in mainstream, of course. And yet, or perhaps thanks to the difficulty of labeling Ned Beauman, we can actually focus on what he does and what he writes. And today we want to focus on Venomous Lumpsucker, his latest book from 3 years ago. Now, very briefly, but it's important for what follows. Very briefly, the story of Venomous Lumpsucker is that, well, this Venomous Lumpsucker in question is a fish, sort of fish, and it lives in the depth of a sea, where a large and relatively, I guess, evil company wants to basically destroy the seabed by digging to find ore or gas or any kind of profitable material that is hidden under the sea, under the seabed. Now, this is, of course, something that happens regularly. That is a large company or a small one, it doesn't matter, but usually large companies want to, for example, dig for oil somewhere, and then somebody says, yeah, but in that space where you want to dig, there are some very rare animals, or there is very rare type of flora or fauna, and you simply cannot dig because you will destroy them. Now, there are basically treaties, there are laws in that regard. And we see routinely, of course, around the world, oppositions, let's say, between large companies who want to, for example, drill, and environment-related protection agencies that say, basically, you're not allowed to destroy that environment just to dig for oil. Now, what happens is that Karin, the main character of Venomous Lumpsucker, she's a biologist, and well, she's a biologist. She's a specialist of cognition in animals, and she's asked by this evil corporation to investigate that fish and to find out whether there's any chance that that fish may be actually sentient, that is, that the fish may have evolved to such a degree that it can be considered to be a species equivalent to, let's say, us or whatever. And, of course, if Karin, the character, finds that the Venomous Lumpsucker is indeed intelligent to that degree, then obviously the evil corporation cannot dig anymore. There's another character involved in the book, a man, and this one is more some sort of, you could say, almost a banker. He's not really a banker, he's a type of banker. He's specialized in the economy of mass extinction. What does that mean? It means that the same thing, of course, does exist for carbon emissions, for example. You are, let's say, allowed to release carbon if you pay for that release by, for example, planting trees somewhere or replanting a forest somewhere. In other words, for the last decade, really, or more, there's been a commerce between large companies, governments, etc., making basically all those environmentally related regulations, turning them into a market and the financial market. And we do know, it's very well known, that it is a way for many of those corporations or big companies to escape, in fact, the strictures of the law. And if the law says, well, you should not do this because it's polluting, they will say, well, we'll do it, but we'll plant a few trees somewhere else. And of course, the question in the end is always the same. Is the balance redressed when you do that, right? And it kind of depends on one and it kind of depends on the other as well, of course. Now, this is extremely interesting as a premise because basically Venomous Lumpsucker is a book about the environment, but it is not some sort of, let's say, half-predictive book that we know. J.G. Ballard, for example, is well known. King Stanley Robinson is another one. Lagoon is another one. Greg Egan, Perihelion, very tiny book, very nice book as well. Almost un-Egan as much as possible. And all those books are more focused on, well, the thing has happened, and now what happens? The environment has changed, climate has changed, of course, and so what happens afterwards? What happens to people afterwards? What does the world look like, in a way, afterwards? And this is not really what, this is not at all, in fact, what Ned Beauman is interested in. He's interested in the politics of the environment, and beyond that, what it is that we do to justify, basically, our destroying the environment to ourselves. So it is really all about the morality and the ethics of our own attitude towards the environment and what it is that we actually do or don't do and the lies we tell ourselves. So this is a book full of basically short-termism. It examines the short-termism and capitalism and what that implies basically in terms of saving the environment. Now, everyone claims that they want to save the environment, but when there is profit to be made and destroying the environment in the same move, what do people choose? That is, of course, one of the problems we have as simple citizens. If we're offered a very cheap plane ticket to go somewhere, we might know it's not good for the environment, but it is good for our wallet, so we'll take it. If a corporation knows that they may kill a few, I don't know, a type of jellyfish that nobody cares about except 3 biologists on Earth, but they stand to make billions in profit, why should they not get their money since nobody cares about the jellyfish? Now, this is of course what the main character encounters, is that nobody cares about her fish, and when she tries to convince people that the venomous lumpsucker might be just an incredible creature that needs to be saved because it might be a sentient creature, well, nobody really cares because they say, well, how many are there? Well, it's just that tiny population there. Yeah, okay, but what do? Well, they're just there. They don't do anything. So why should we care? I mean, so many species have died over the millennia and the millions of years that the Earth has known, billions of years. So billions probably of species have come and gone. So why should we care about the lumpsucker? Isn't it more important to drill, to extract? Because people need electricity, people need power, people need gas, people need oil. And this is what this wonderful novel basically puts right in the middle of it. That is, well, what choices do we make? What are the choices we should make? We know. We should save the lumpsucker. We should save the jellyfish. We should save the toad. Why? Because, of course, diversity is the name of the game. The less diverse the biology on our planet, the worse it is for everybody. And also because we are really custodians of that planet. And it is incumbent on us, seeing the means we have, seeing the cognitive means we have, the technological means we have, it is really incumbent on us to save the planet, to preserve it. Well, yes, but of course there is money to be made. And those two characters, the guy who specializes in those deals to basically circumvent the law, and the main character, the biologist, basically find themselves in that situation where everybody pretends that, of course, they want the best for, and nobody really does it. Of course, there is a big problem also raised in that novel, and that is, well, how do we decide what should be saved? What's the line between, I don't know, a bear or a dog and an insect? Well, we know what the line is, of course. People are quite happy to see spiders go, but they'd rather keep the dogs. That's fine. But this distinction is very easy to make, and of course, the closer you get to that point where people don't really know, the more difficult it becomes to make that distinction. So, if I tell you that the jellyfish is sentient, you'll be like, yeah, wow. If I tell you a bear is sentient and you can talk to it, and again, where is the line between what we save and what we basically sacrifice? We have the discussion today around the octopus, for example, and to what extent, and some countries have already banned the eating of octopuses because they are considered to be highly intelligent creatures, and so we should not kill them anymore. Well, if we should not kill those, then surely, here again, the line becomes very difficult to find between, okay, they're very intelligent, but that's it, or they're very nice, or they're very useful, etc., etc. Now, in the end, of course, one of the ways found in that book, it's just an episode in the book, and in many other productions thinking about those, be it text or films, there is the idea that, well, why don't we create some sort of great library with the DNA of all those creatures? Because then, when they're dead, at least we have something tangible and we can recreate them. That sounds, of course, a wonderful idea, until, as Ned Beauman makes great fun of, until we realize that, as usual, this is an idea which is more to the advantage of those who want to kill than to the advantage of those who want to defend. Why? Well, simply because imagine you have a great library of all the DNA of all the creatures. The first question is, well, which incentive do you have to recreate any of those? You have none. Unless there is money to be made by recreating those species, or some of those species, nobody would actually put any money into doing so. Maybe one person every 100 years will have enough money and, I don't know, to suddenly philanthropically think we need to revive those species, but otherwise nobody will put any money in it. When you're struggling to eat, when you're struggling to house yourself, you're not going to put some money aside to recreate an insect that disappeared 200 years ago. That's one thing. And the second thing, of course, is that this illuminates one of the ways we think as well, unfortunately, and that is that it is very easy to, pretend that we're doing the right thing and to lie to ourselves again, of course, by saying, well, at least they're here, so when we want, or when we can, or when it's time, we could do it if we wanted to. And of course, you and I know very well where that goes. Whenever we say that something, we could do it. We could, yeah. If we wanted to, we could. It means you won't, of course. And as Ned Beauman, again, uses perfectly well in that novel, this is one of those schemes that is sold to us to make us wait and accept basically that, okay, we can destroy them because somehow they're still somewhere else. But yeah, the real question, of course, is why would they ever come out of this library of DNA, since nobody cared about them when they were alive in the first place? So this is really an extremely funny novel. This has got to be said. Ned Beauman can write a very, very funny line. And I don't mean necessarily funny ha ha ha, of course, but funny more in the sense of very loaded with irony. There's a great lightness to it, so it reads like almost an adventure novel, because this girl is both trying to, one, confirm the status of those lumpsuckers, and then, of course, try to save them, while the finance guy is sort of embroiled in a scheme where it is capital for him that the lumpsucker not be considered sentient. So it reads like an adventure and mystery novel. It has great pace. Characters are very, very nice and very good and very, again, a great exponent of all the ideas. There are multiple things happening, so you're never bored. But at the same time, it's clear that there are multiple levels here that really, really urge us to think about what we are doing. And not only that, but much more pointedly, I think, make us realize and discuss the fact that we are lying to ourselves, we deceive ourselves by pretending that there are ways to say things, and while we say that, and while we put some exchange commissions in place, while we pretend that technology will save all this, well, the world is, of course, disappearing in front of our eyes. Species disappear every day, become extinct every day. And this reminds us that we need to think about what it is that we don't know, or what it is that we don't really know personally, what we're not exposed to. There are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of species of, I don't know, ants, probably. I've seen very few of them. It doesn't matter. I know the others out there, and the question is, what should we do to protect, of course, the environment around us? So it is a book which is, in a way, profoundly ethical, or at least designed, or can be used, certainly, to spur on our own reflection on our own morality, our own ethics when it comes to this. We find all sorts of reasons for not doing the right thing. We keep claiming that those reasons are good, but in effect, of course, we're deceiving ourselves. And the degree to which we know we are deceiving ourselves is one of the cruxes of the book, because it is, of course, one of the most important points in our own moral life. Is, if I know that I'm lying to myself, it is very different from lying to myself if I don't know that I'm doing it, obviously. So, Venomous Lumpsucker is a wonderful novel, extremely enjoyable, a great read in itself, but layered with very, very important pointed questions. And it really doesn't have to be only about the environment, even though it is in this case, but those questions about how we look ahead, how we justify doing the wrong things, applies to so many other areas of our lives that it is extremely salutary to now and again read a book that reminds us that we have a duty to reflect on those things and to make the right choices. Thank you.